So here we are, right in front of the hall, and we're just about to arrive and start our rehearsal. So I'll see you in a moment inside. Here we go. And I'll take you in the hall right now. They're just installing the streaming technique. And here's the beautiful hall. I'll take off my mask for a moment and really excited to be here. I will tell you a little bit about the pieces in a moment backstage. See you. So, welcome backstage in the Beethoven Haus Bonn, where we are about to play our streamed concert. And as I announced in the previous post, I'm very happy to give some introductions in English for my English-speaking patrons, because during the concert itself, I'll probably give a little conference about the pieces in German. The concert is about to start, and we're very excited. This is a fantastic location. We're really looking forward to this, and I hope you will all enjoy the show. If you can't follow it live, it will probably stay online for quite a while, and you can watch it whenever you want. So, we will begin this concert with an amazing song, a lied, by Ludwig van Beethoven called Adelaide. And this song from the cycle opus 46 in a miniature already incorporates the whole idea of our Revolutionary Icons program, in which we examine the dialectics of Beethoven being a pop star of his time and a revolutionary guy who provoked and who, pushed the borders very hard. And in this song, Adelaide, all this comes together in 4 minutes. Adelaide was very widespread, known throughout Europe, much further than the German cultural region. It was translated also into Italian and French and published in 4 different editions. So it was widely spread and very, very popular at its time. It's based on a love poem by Friedrich von Mattisson. And if you hear it at the first, sight or hearing, it sounds very, very sort of easy to hear and very pleasant, a typical love song. But subcutaneously, it has enormous revolutionary potential, which is maybe not as obvious as in many other Beethoven pieces, but yet it has a lot of the elements of the revolutionary Beethoven. First of all, Beethoven already disrupts the form of a song, what's called lead form, which is ABA classically. And he applies a form here which is called the sonata form, which only was used in instrumental music. So to use this in vocal music was an act of, let's say, breaking the rules, to say it mildly. It was quite a provocation, and it would lead too far to explain this form, but you will see that the end of the song brings the material in a very lively and virtuoso fast way, which was unheard of and had never been done in vocal music. And the other aspect that makes this song so revolutionary is very, very modernistic. You could say it already anticipates Dadaism. Beethoven was fascinated by the 5-syllable name Adelaide. And in the poem, at the end of every verse, this word Adelaide, Adelaide comes twice, and Beethoven always takes this 5-syllable sound object to create new rhythms, new harmonies, new shapings, and he really played with the sound of these 5 syllables. That's a very modern idea, and the 20th century, the Dadaists kind of focused on that aesthetics. We will pass on to another very modernist and also Dadaistic song written by the Beatles, to be more precise by Paul McCartney and John Lennon. It is called Eleanor Rigby, and it was on the B side of a single. Actually, it was the less important song, but it had a much bigger impact on the pop music history. The A side had the song on it called Yellow Submarine, a very, very, easy to listen pop song. The real revolutionary song was Eleanor Rigby. First of all, the whole idea of this song is really weird because the text deals about the solitude of an elderly lady and a priest that no one listens to. So the whole thematic idea also is pretty strange. Even more strange is the instrumentation, the original instrumentation of this song. There's no guitar, there's no piano, there's no drum, there's no bass. The voice is accompanied by 2 string quartets in the original version. And this creates a very nostalgic and peculiar sound. I myself played string quartets for many, many years and have a strong connection and also some nostalgic feelings about string quartet. So this song means a lot to me, and not only to me, it has been covered by so many artists. So many artists were inspired by the weirdness and the enigmatic quality of this song in jazz, in rock pop, and our version is based on one of the artists we really estimate so highly. Jacob Collier made an amazing version of the song, and it inspired us a little bit to our version too. So we took different influences of the history that this song also generated into our own version. We'll pass on to the probably most revolutionary cello piano sonata by Beethoven, or maybe even any composer. It's the last sonata in D major, opus 102, number 2, and it is probably one of the most radical pieces. Other than Adelaide, this piece never was acknowledged by the contemporaries. It failed totally when it was first performed, and no one understood it, and everyone thought this piece doesn't make any sense. Only much later, of course, the masterpiece quality was acknowledged, and today it is one of the greatest cello piano treasures. The first movement is one of the most condensed, radical compositions by Beethoven, comparable a little bit to his string quartet, opus 95, in which he condenses everything to the absolute concentrate minimum. So all the harsh character changes are so fast succeeding one each other that the speed of the emotional dramaturgical development is enormous. So the whole first movement lasts a couple of minutes and everything is said without any word too much. There's no epic length, nothing. And all the character differences, all the contrasts are there. It is very joyful, it is very sunny and very doubtful, and has all qualities of human depths and everything totally radically condensed. Only Webern in the 20th century went even further by creating pieces that last merely 1 minute entirely, and it was Beethoven that planted the seed for this aesthetic idea. The second movement is one of the most beautiful ever written. You want to, take on this solitary island. It is a door opener to romanticism, and it is so subjective, so full of personal feeling and sentiment without ever getting sentimental. And always when you think it comes to an end, it still goes on. It does have an epic length, and it is just one of the most touching, heartfelt pieces Beethoven ever wrote. It leads directly into a fugue, which concludes the sonata, but it's not just any fugue. It is a humoristic fugue. And this is a little bit a contradiction by itself, because a fugue usually is supposed to be academic. But Beethoven improvises on a scale and comes into a fugue theme in a 3/4 beat, which is dancing and full of counter accents. So in a certain way, he makes fun of the fugue, and he's very humoristic. He has a very humoristic approach to that academic form developed by Bach. And of course, the fugue also becomes quite drastic and dramatic. But in the general character, it is bright and serene and humoristic. So this is a pretty amazing 3-component sonata, and the whole sonata lasts merely, let's say, 19 minutes, which is extremely condensed for a whole masterwork. After the sonata, we're gonna pass on to play some Jimi Hendrix for you, and we're gonna go to one of his most famous pieces called Purple Haze, a very radical piece. Jimi Hendrix was, like Beethoven, a very political guy. He incorporated the spirit of a whole era, you know, this Woodstock, anti-Vietnam War era, and his songs were as radical as his political thoughts, and he was a pacifist, and he was very advanced for his time. Beethoven, by the way, also was politically very, very involved, and always commented on politics, and was first he as everyone knows, he dedicated his symphony to Napoleon, and then he tore the paper apart when he knew what Napoleon was doing. So he had a very, very emotional approach to politics, and also expressed that through his compositions. Jimi Hendrix was similar, and but on the other hand, he was one of the greatest virtuosos on the guitar. He developed the guitar technique, inspired hundreds of players and generations after him, and so he wrote this amazing piece, Purple Haze, where we're gonna, adapt the aesthetics of his psychedelic blues rock band. After that, we will come to one of the most incredible quartet treasures Beethoven has written, the famous Cavatina from Opus 130. Of course, this piece has been very close to me for decades. I don't know how many hundreds of times I performed it with the Artemis Quartet. One of the things that strikes me, or striked us most about this piece, is the middle section. So the whole Cavatina is a very emotional, declamatory, subjective song, very tender and passionate, but the middle section is a marvel. It is titled, subtitled by the character indication in German, beklemmt, which is very hard to translate into English. It means anguished, with a feeling of being stuck and not knowing where to go, and being very lonesome and solitary and helpless. So there's an ostinato rhythm of triplets in the lower strings in the quartet, and we put it into the piano, and the upper voice sort of mumbles in a very uncoordinated way. Rhythmically, it's 4 against 3, to show a disorientation, to show insecurity, to show vulnerability and despair. So Beethoven reveals an aspect of his character which is very unknown. Usually we have this passionate composer, Beethoven, which we know and which we love, but a fragile guy, someone that's vulnerable, someone that is insecure and admits it, that's not the image we connect to Beethoven, but yet it makes his music all the more human, and it is so touching, and for me shows his true greatness. And he revealed all of this into his wonderful cavatina. Following the cavatina is very hard to play something, and in the string quartet there's a big break caused by the große Fuge. We decided today to also do a big break and come to one of our most treasured pop soul artists, unfortunately also a member of the tragic club of 27, like Hendrix, the British singer Amy Winehouse. And she created a wonderful song called Back to Black. It's a very, as the title already conveys, sort of tragic love song, probably autobiographical, and it's one of her biggest successes, and it's similar to the cavatina, reveals such a fragility and such a vulnerability in a very touching way, and also similar to the cavatina, on the other hand, by doing this, reveals dignity and strength. To conclude the evening, we will play a cosmos within a cosmos, the final movement of the Grand Piano Sonata Opus 110 in our arrangement for cello and piano. So the question, the legitimate question is, why do you arrange a piano sonata for cello and piano? The poor pianist has to leave away a little bit of what he's usually playing, and I'm very grateful to Jacques that he did that, to share this amazing repertoire with me. The inspiration to transcribe this piece comes from the sonata itself, from a quote Beethoven uses in the main theme of this movement. It is a huge movement. It begins with a recitativo, then there's this famous adagio dolente, which means painful, followed by a fugue, re-followed by the adagio, then the fugue comes again in an inversion, and then there's a triumphant finish to this piece. So the main adagio theme is a quote taken from the St. John's Passion by Johann Sebastian Bach, an aria called Es ist vollbracht, which would translate, it is achieved, it is done. And this aria is presented by the singer in a duet with a viola da gamba, which is a sort of a predecessor of the cello. And it's a very, very famous gamba solo, and so much conceived in spirit of a singing voice, of a singing string instrument, that we thought this just is such an invitation to re-examine the piece with the means of a string instrument. So we made a version of this grand movement and the fugues and the recitativo together, and this is going to be the finale of our concert with a huge emotion. This piece is some 11 minutes within the sonata, and as I said, it's basically a complete piece within a piece. And it shows the whole range of emotional and human expressivity that Beethoven is able to create, and it is amazing that he achieved to do that only for a piano. And I must say, I love the pure piano version as much as I now love our version, and I hope you will too. So I wish you a lot of fun and pleasure and tears and joy and smile with this program, and I'm very much looking forward to your feedback and to your comments, and hope to see you soon when the concerts are not streamed anymore, and we really hope this will be among our last concerts that are virtual and that are streamed. Nevertheless, please enjoy this evening.